Galaxy Fit 3 versus the Smart Band 10. Which is best and which budget fitness tracker should you be buying in 2026? Well, if we take a look at the spec sheets, you'll see that the Smart Band 10 actually blows the Galaxy Fit 3 out of the water on several different things. Most prominently, battery life. It's actually rated for up to 21 days of battery life, and it's even got a much brighter display. However, there's still several reasons I picked the Galaxy Fit 3 over the Smart Band 10. One of those reasons is not battery life. The Galaxy Fit 3 is only rated for up to 13 days of battery life, and in reality, you're probably only going to be getting 6 to 7 days with always on display on, sometimes even less than that. With the Smart Band 10 in the real world, you're going to be looking at around 13 days or so, which is a significant increase over the Galaxy Fit 3. It's just, I don't think that it matters all that much. You see, having days and days of battery on these fitness trackers is obviously great, but obviously you're still going to have to charge them at one point. So I do think there is a bit of a crossover and a point where you say, is it really too much to ask to put these on charge once a week? Most of us are going to be doing that anyway. What might influence your decision though is of course the charging speeds. The Smart Band 10 can charge to 100% in around about an hour. With the Galaxy Fit 3, you're actually looking at closer to an hour and a half, so a little bit longer. However, just to complicate things, with the Galaxy Fit 3, it does win on shorter bursts, so it can charge to 65% in just half an hour, whilst the Xiaomi Smart Band 10 goes up to 45% in half an hour. So a bit of a difference there. But the other thing you got to consider is the Smart Band 10 has actually got a slightly larger battery, coming in at 233 milliamp hours, and then the Galaxy Fit 3 has got a 208 milliamp hour battery. Ultimately, although there is a fairly big gap on the spec sheets, I don't think battery life is really something you need to take into account too much when considering both of these fitness trackers. Both of them last plenty long enough, and both of them have got downsides and benefits to their charging speeds. Personally, I prefer the sleeker, larger display of the Galaxy Fit 3, and it's one secret weapon that the Smart Band 10 doesn't have, and that's a physical button. For working out, the Galaxy Fit 3's physical button just makes so much sense. Yes, it does have a slightly dimmer display in comparison to the Smart Band 10, but it's certainly bright enough to get by. The Smart Band 10 is just a little bit basic. And by the way guys, if you are finding this video helpful, please do leave a comment, a like, and subscribe to the channel for more tech content. Anyway, when you are working out though and getting all sweaty, you'll be glad to know that both fitness trackers can actually handle a little bit of rain and sweat. They're both 5ATM rated and IP68 rated, which does mean you can take them swimming, but worth noting, only the Galaxy Fit 3, to my knowledge, does your stroke counts. When you're doing all of these activities, the other thing that you really need to consider when comparing the two devices is comfort. With the Galaxy Fit 3, I found it just feels a little bit more natural on the wrist. The Smart Band 10 is definitely comfortable enough, but I felt that I absolutely had to get a third-party strap just to make it that little bit more comfortable. For the Galaxy Fit 3, my choice of strap was more of a fashion choice. It is worth mentioning here as well that both the Galaxy Fit 3 and the Smart Band 10, much like a lot of flagship smartwatches, have infinite amounts of customization options. There's a really good market for third-party watch straps and accessories out there. It means you can take these from budget fitness tracker to something that feels a little bit more elevated and personal to you. These straps that I bought are fairly inexpensive. I think they cost around $7 or so. So I'll put the links to these in the pinned comment and the description so you can pick them up for yourselves. Both have a pretty decent selection of watch faces too, although Xiaomi have a much more diverse watch face selection in comparison to the Galaxy Fit 3. And that does bring me on to one kind of bad point about the Galaxy Fit 3, and that's ecosystems. It's going to work really well with any Samsung phone, kind of okay with Android phones, but definitely not at all with Apple phones. It's just not worth it in my opinion. The Smart Band 10, however, does work with pretty much any phone, which is a big win and actually makes it the obvious choice for a lot of people. And there is actually another kind of strange reason you might want to consider the Smart Band 10 over the Galaxy Fit 3, and that's the vibration motor. Now, in initial testing, I thought the vibration motor in the Galaxy Fit 3 felt fine, but then I got both of these fitness trackers side by side for a comparison, and you can really feel the difference with this tiny Smart Band 10. It's definitely so much better. Why on earth does that matter, you might ask? Well, the thing is, I think if you're a really deep sleeper, you might not actually get woken up by the Galaxy Fit 3 if you're using it as an alarm, so definitely something to consider depending on your sleeping habits. Where both fitness trackers are actually weirdly pretty similar is the feature set. Both have Find My Phone, both can be used as camera remotes, both can track things like your steps, your heart rate, your SpO2, your sleep, and much more. But because of those ecosystem problems, only the Smart Band 10's Find My Phone and camera remote worked on every single phone. The Galaxy Fit 3 is limited to Android phones and Samsung phones. One thing they can both do is be used as media controllers. Now, neither of them have onboard storage. That means you cannot store songs or open Spotify on these devices. But what you can do, if you're playing that music through your phone, you can control the playback right from your wrist. This is really handy if you're on a run and you've got some Bluetooth earphones in, for example. Great feature to have on such cheap devices, in my opinion. But there is one feature that the Smart Band 10 does have that the Galaxy Fit 3 doesn't, and this is Xiaomi's shoe mode, or pebble mode as they call it. Basically, it means that you can actually pop this out and attach it directly to your shoe. I mean, in my opinion, it kind of defeats the object of having a fitness tracker on your wrist, but for the more serious runners out there, I guess it offers a really cool option if you don't want to have something strapped to your wrist. And I've got to admit, it made me look a lot less silly when I went out and compared these watches on a run. Now, before we move on from the features, I do have to give a quick nod to the Galaxy Fit 3's automatic workout detection. The Smart Band 10 can definitely do it, it's just not quite as confident as the Fit 3. The Fit 3 will automatically start workouts every time, and 9 times out of 10, it'll do a pretty good job. The Smart Band 10 seems a little bit more tentative. It always asks you before it actually starts the workout, so it's not quite fully automatic in that sense. So if that is something that you're really bothered about, I definitely trust the Galaxy Fit 3 to do all that stuff for me over the Smart Band 10. GPS on these devices is definitely another talking point. It's worth noting though that the accuracy of the GPS is very much going to depend on what sort of phone you've got, because they both use connected GPS, which means there's no GPS on board. It's using the connection to your phone. So if you've got a more modern phone, you might get slightly better results. In my opinion, this is not something that particularly upsets me. I think that's absolutely fine. Most of us go out with our smartphones anyway these days. But if you did want to go for an untethered run and pop it on Strava, well, you can't. We probably should talk about accuracy in general on these. I think for SpO2 and heart rate, both of them do a really good job. They're exactly in line with where I expect. Even comparing them to more advanced smartwatches like the Galaxy Watch and Apple Watch Ultra, they're doing a pretty good job at keeping up. These are definitely fantastic devices for keeping a general eye on your health. Not life-saving medical equipment, but neither of the top-tier smartwatches. Steps tracking, however, although very impressive on both devices, there was a slight difference. I'd say the Galaxy Fit 3 is a little bit more precise, especially in real time. The Smart Band 10 is, again, a little bit more tentative, a little bit slower to get those readings, and maybe even a tiny bit conservative, but ultimately it's not a reason to buy one over the other. They're very, very close, and they do a very good job of getting your steps right. What's also pretty good, but also pretty different on both fitness trackers, is the non-fitness side of things, so the smart features, and specifically notifications. Both of them can get notifications, but the Galaxy Fit 3 just does that a little bit better. It feels like a budget smartwatch experience rather than a cheaper fitness tracker. I think Samsung have really nailed that. You can get things like WhatsApp notifications on there. I even get notifications about new news articles that are coming out. And with the Galaxy Fit 3, you can actually do quick replies and send emojis straight from your wrist. With the Smart Band 10, you still get the notifications, you'll still get incoming calls, but you can't do quick replies from your wrist. And to be honest, many of you might not want a fitness tracker for that anyway. It's definitely a bonus feature in a lot of people's eyes. The other thing the Galaxy Fit 3 does better than the Smart Band 10 is SOS and Fall Detection. These features aren't available on the Smart Band 10 to my knowledge at least. Galaxy Fit 3 has these features, so if you are elderly or living on your own, this is a reason to buy the Galaxy Fit 3 over the Smart Band 10. There is yet another reason why I prefer the Galaxy Fit 3 over the Smart Band 10 though, and that's when it comes to UI and software. I'll talk about the actual Fit 3 software in a second, but Samsung Health to me is much easier to use, a much more user-friendly fitness app in comparison to, well, anything out there. Many would argue that it's too basic, but I've made some huge leaps in my overall fitness just using Samsung Health. Credit where credit's due to the Smart Band 10 though. Xiaomi have made some massive leaps in their app over the past few years. The software is definitely feeling a lot more fluid and robust now. It's just that in comparison to Samsung's option, I just don't think they're quite there yet. The app feels a little bit cluttered, a little bit overcomplicated. And then of course there are some ads floating around too, which you just don't get on Samsung's option. Apps aside, going back to the actual fitness trackers software, I think both are great, but again, the Galaxy Fit 3 just feels that little bit more refined and robust in comparison to the Smart Band 10, and offers a more close to a smartwatch experience than the Smart Band 10. With the Smart Band 10, the UI just feels a little bit more fluffed up, a little bit more responsive in comparison to what it was 4 or 5 years ago. It feels a little bit too familiar. Something that's missing on both of these fitness trackers though, which I'm not actually too upset about because they are budget fitness trackers, is NFC. Now this would have been a really nice to have, and to be honest I don't think it's actually that expensive for companies to integrate it into devices, but there's no NFC, so that means you cannot make payments and you cannot connect these to exercise machines, something to bear in mind. So which budget fitness tracker should you be buying in 2026? Well, both of these fitness trackers are currently hovering around the $40 mark. The Galaxy Fit 3 more often than not does edge towards the $50 to $60 mark, so slightly more expensive, but there's a really easy way to decide between the two. If you've got an iPhone, get the Smart Band 10. If you've got a Samsung phone, get the Galaxy Fit 3. The bit where you got to start thinking is if you own any other Android phone, and I'd argue if you want something that's no fluff, minimal intervention, minimal interaction, something to just track your steps, your sleep, your calories and all that jazz, I'd go for the Smart Band 10. I think it's the much smarter option. However, if you're a little bit more tech savvy and want that closer to a smartwatch experience without the smartwatch price tag, I do think the Galaxy Fit 3 is a better choice. The only other thing that I'd say is that because the Galaxy Fit 3 is often discounted to the point it's the same price as the Smart Band 10, I think it's actually a much better deal, especially considering that larger display. That really does make all the difference to me, despite the losses in battery life. In terms of next gen tech, we haven't really had any news about the Galaxy Fit 4, and the next Smart Band is likely to be released in summer, so now is actually a really good time to buy one of these. I'd also just say that, to be honest, there's never really the huge jumps in technology in fitness trackers like there is in smartwatches, so if you are getting a little bit of anxiety thinking, oh, am I going to miss out with the next version, you're probably not going to miss out on much. So definitely buy one now if you are on the fence, but if you can stretch your budget to a fully fledged smartwatch, check out my Apple Watch Ultra 3 versus the Galaxy Watch Ultra video in the top right corner now. See you in the next one.